Hey, what's up everybody, it's OnePeg. So I had to do a re-record of this video. It's not something that I wanted to do, but a lot of the footage that was being used in the last video was something that the devs actually didn't want shared. Unfortunately, it was a miscommunication between myself and the dev team where I thought that the majority of the stuff that we were being shown or that I was being shown was something that I could share with you guys, but they're trying to be a little bit more controlled about it than that. So unfortunately, the majority of the stuff that I want to show you, I can't yet. I do have some stills that I will include in this just to cover stuff that I want to talk about. The conversation that I had with them was for about 3.5 to 4 hours. It was a really long chat. So I do have a lot of information that I want to share with you, but unfortunately the only real B-roll that I have that I can share with you, like animated wise, is the game trailers and some other like minor things that they've shared over time. So the majority of this is just going to be me talking, and I apologize for those of you that don't really want to watch or listen to me yap and wanted to watch more on the gameplay side of things, but I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got. Anyway, on to the rest of the video, and there is some exclusive stuff here that no one else knows. Okay, so first up, this game is great. What I've seen so far, what I had the ability to see so far, the gameplay was smooth, it had good frame rate, there was really good environmental effects, really amazing hand animation, some really nice stuff. From what I can tell, this game is borrowing ideas from games like Mortal Online 2, Elden Ring, Hunt Showdown, Chivalry, Tarkov, Dark and Darker, with a heavy emphasis on discovery and character progression through doing rather than getting. And I think that that's an important distinction between the two. There's really some unique things going on here. It is a PvPvE extraction video game that is set in post-Napoleonic era Europe, where some alternate timeline kind of stuff happened. Like this plague caused a lot of people to not only become like undeadish kind of zombies, but there's also like some weird abomination, like parts of people kind of like stuck together and made like bigger monsters and things. Really cool and interesting stuff that's going on with this game. It plays or looks like a mix between like a Hunt Showdown and like a Chivalry, with directional swinging combat where you actually like control the angles in which your sword slashes at people or whatever. There is wind-up mechanics. It's really nice from what I had seen. But about the actual game itself, so there is a hub, like a physical hub. It's not going to be a menu system like we've seen in other extraction games. There's a physical hub with multiple NPCs, many of them actually. Each NPC has 9 to 11 story quests. 50 or so of those quests will be in the first area of the hub. When you complete them, it will unlock a new area, area 2, and then 3, and then 4. Area 2 will be where professions are held. Area 3 is going to be where there is a player market or auction house, player marketplace. And then area 4 is going to be where you have a shared stash between you and all of the other characters that you have that have made it to this point. It is estimated that the first time that you play through it, it would take between 30 to 50 hours worth of playtime to progress between each individual area. And then obviously when you run it back on other characters, this amount of time would be shortened to, they estimate, somewhere between like 12, maybe 15 hours per area. The idea here is that it's going to limit people's ability to do like RMT kind of stuff. And ultimately they are hoping that from the anti-cheat side of things, they would catch cheaters before they progress to the point where they're able to actually access the player market, thereby influencing that economy. We're not sure exactly when early access is going to be. It might be sometime by the end of this calendar year, maybe the beginning of January. Between me and you, I think that the reason why they aren't sure is because they were waiting to see what GTA 6 was doing, which is something a lot of dev studios have been doing. I believe that now that GTA got pushed back, we will hopefully see something by like Q4, maybe end of Q4 of this year, that would actually be playable for us. When it launches in early access, we will have the first 2 areas available, and then area 3 is supposed to be in maybe 1 to 2 patches after early access begins. There's going to be 3 large maps on launch with more afterward. These 3 large maps are pretty big, and I'll explain more about that in a second. 10 maps in total, with a rotation of 3 maps at a time that would be accessible on kind of like this staggered timeline. 5 large and 5 smaller, like CQB style of maps, so that it befits people that want ranged weapons more, or people that are going to do more CQB style stuff. For character progression, there are 100 levels of character progression, of which you can then prestige your character for cosmetic stuff. 1 to talent point per level, and then people spend a lot of time, or the idea would be you would spend a lot of time theory crafting your best character build. There are huge talent trees, 100 talent points worth of talent trees with a mastery at the very bottom. Character trees have a wide variety of perks. For the melee side, people that want to focus more on melee stuff, there's berserker stuff for melee damage, two-handed weapon damage, dual wield damage. I mean, there's stuff that allows you so that like a powered attack ends up making you lunge toward your opponent, all kinds of stuff like that. There's trees for loot speed, healing amounts, moving more silently when crouching has a mastery level to it, opening doors more quietly, etc. There's masteries that tighten up hip fire, like spread, the dispersion, or allow you to dual wield handguns. There's trees that allow you to dual wield melee weapons, but these are things that cause choices. You only get one big mastery talent point. So you can't be like this murderous gunslinger with dual wield and also someone that's able to move really silently as well, right? So you have to pick. This prestige system that they have allows you to keep your stash and the unlocked hub areas, but you go back to level 1. There are cosmetics that you then unlock as account wide. When they're unlocked, they're owned permanently by the account. But the way that they're doing this is a little bit unique, where the cosmetics are done with a mastery system or a recipe. The idea where you find the recipe, extract with it in like the in-game case. Let's say you kill a boss, they might have a recipe on them for a unique cosmetic item. You extract with that and then you add it to what's called a compendium. When you add it to your compendium, it gives you a recipe, like go collect all of these different pieces and parts, and then once you've done that and applied it to this recipe, you then unlock the cosmetic to be used whenever you like forever. So it gives them a way to make it like more visceral and something that you have to earn through instead of just being able to buy it, which again, as I said, that comes in doing rather than getting. There are also named elite mobs, which have like a 1 in 100 chance that have a special cosmetic item on them. There are even quests that you can get as like a monthly quest, let's say, that allows you to kill that mob, or it's a quest to kill that mob for a specific and special reward even. These mobs have double the health pool of like the normal NPC counterparts. They're easily identifiable. They have a unique skin to them, and they drop like unique recipes and unique skin recipes. So the unlock system for cosmetic and recipes, again, is done in crafting with the crafting area 2. There are all kinds of different craft stuff that you can focus on. You're only allowed to have 2 professions though. There's stuff for mining, stuff for finding textiles, herbalism, cooking, focus on medicine, making bags and gadgets, focus on making grenades, other consumables. You can be a metallurgist, somebody that makes weapons or armor. There's all kinds of different stuff. Each one of those professions is given a single recipe for an item when you learn it at first, and then there's 5 levels of proficiency that come after that. All the rest of the recipes in the game have to be found. The interesting thing about these recipes though is once you learn them, it's unlocked via a drop system where a recipe is found in game, and then you commit that to memory again in your compendium, just like you would do with the skin stuff. When you extract with it, the recipe is then memorized by you. You memorize it in your compendium, but it doesn't get rid of the physical recipe. It becomes something that you could either stash away in your stash, or you can take that recipe and sell it on the market for other people to obtain. So in the case of something being really rare, you have the ability to either control the market yourself, or you could sell it off. And then also you could buy recipes that you're missing and learn them for yourself too. So it's a good way for the secondary market to try and, like, you know, help each other out, or I guess not. Insofar as matchmaking, okay, for matchmaking, there's a full intention to bring this to console. There's a big exclusive piece of information. They are actively talking with Sony and Xbox about bringing this game to console. The early access playtests and all that stuff are not going to be on console at first. They are going to be on PC primarily. So there's an early launch on PC, but they are going to be talking, or they're currently talking to Xbox and Sony about porting this over so that people on consoles can play this too. And I think this would transfer very, very well to console, especially with crossplay. For matchmaking, there's going to be like a regional selection kind of system, probably going to have to be region locked because there's portions of the globe that are a little bit more nefarious than others. There's no MMR system though. There's going to be a newbie bucket with people under 40 hours of gameplay they're targeting, and then maybe over 40 would be like a veteran pool, but that's it. The map makeup, okay? So for people interested in maps, 15 players per map. The average session time is about 30 minutes. There are some extract points that show up that look like a hot air balloon that will take you out. At least that's the working way it's going right now. The first one shows up around like maybe 4 to 8 minutes, and the second one shows up somewhere around like maybe 20 to 30 minutes, but you don't really know when. Solos, duos, and trios queue together on the map, okay? So there's no like solo only queue, but the idea here is, given how this game is broken down, especially on the melee side, there is a rather short time to kill, a couple of hits, 3 maybe on the melee side of things, depending on where you hit them and how hard, and downing people goes pretty fast. Solos also get a very large XP boost, about 200% XP for solos, 50% XP bonus for duos, and then trios is the safest but doesn't have any boosted XP rates. So solo getting an additional 200% XP is actually the fastest way to level if you're trying to really push through them. Friendly fire is also on in this game, by the way. There's also no in-game map. You have to collect physical maps, but then it works like kind of like Tarkov, where the physical map is shown, but there's no actual like marks on it anywhere. It's a pretty rudimentary thing. You also don't have an indicator where you are on the map. So this map is something that has to be learned in playing and doing. There is, however, like a little thing that shows up on your heads up display, an icon that will show you the direction to get to the extract should you need like a cardinal direction to move in. So the down but not out state, the DBNO state, you can knock people. They can crawl. There are masteries to increase your crawling speed. When you are down, the health pool gets doubled so that you don't die like off permanently as fast. It takes 10 seconds to get you back up, but masteries can again improve that rate. Revived with 10 HP, you get revived with 10 health. The second time you're knocked, it's 150%, third time's 100%, fourth time is 50%, and then if you die or get knocked a fifth time, you stay perma-dead. Okay, so it's kind of like a scaling down system. The more times you get knocked, the easier it is to get like killed off permanently. There are search timers and loot timers. Search timers or loot timers when you're searching boxes and stuff. This can be shortened using consumables, trinkets, and there are talent points for it as well. The idea here is that it gives players the option of coming together using various loot points, POIs, cosmetics, quest focus points, that kind of stuff. For dailies, for instance, everybody gets the same exact quest on each day, so it creates like moving points of interest over time. Each day is going to be a little bit different, but they're not going to have like a BR circle or anything like that. There's a very, very large spread out map. Death in the game, in this game, means that you lose everything. There is no insurance, but there is a secure container. The secure container is a single square. Once you place an item into it, it stays locked in the secure container until after you've extracted with it. So you have to make a very active decision, choice, whatever, on what it is that's going into that, so that, you know, that sense of like semi-permanence is a thing that you've got to play around. I like that. I like it when you make players, force them into making choices. They also said there's not going to be any PvE only experience. PvP is a core part of this game, and 15 people on this large of a map doesn't really push PvP so hard. You can hear things going on, explosions, whatever, and work around that if you need to. And obviously there are talents for stealth and all that kind of stuff. They're also talking about maybe doing map additions to the game, kind of like what Tarkov did with the Labyrinth, where you have to unlock these via like in-game events or by finding it by happenstance and then doing the whole, oh my god, I discovered this crazy thing, right? Leaning big into discovery, I think, is also something that will give this game a longer term life to it. Maps, again, are 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. There's a day-night cycle that is shown on the overworld map, kind of like what Tarkov does, where you choose one. You can choose, one map will be daytime, the other map will be nighttime. They're not going to have like where you can choose day or night. It's just going to be whatever time of day it is on the map at the time. Maps are completely different looking from each other. One of them was like a logging camp area. Another one was a town that was like half burned down. Another one was this hilly area with intact trees, obviously, and like a fort. But every map, every one of these large maps has a massive dungeon underneath it that requires a key in order to enter, that are dropped from various different places that are nearly as large as the overworld map. So you have 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer surface, and then you have like a nearly 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer underground dungeon. If you can get through that dungeon and find this big boss door kind of deal, you have the ability to touch like this altar next to it that will unlock the ability for you to go to a boss fight that again requires its own key, kind of like if you were to go to labs on Tarkov. The idea here is that this is the only PvE like experience in the game. It's tuned for legendary level gear, so you can't just go in there and like, you know, garbage stuff. I mean, you could, but you're probably going to get trucked. But the idea is that you go into this boss fight and you can try and see if you win it or not. You and some buddies. Again, you know, death being permanent and well, not death, but loss of gear being permanent. You're kind of risking a lot to go and fight. So kind of cool. They're also looking at adding a PvP area with cosmetic rewards as you rank up. Also adding guilds at a later point with guild v guild combat later on down the line even. And they're even talking about doing like larger scale stuff where you could do like 10v10 or 25v25 or 50v50, but that would be like years in the future. Okay, so on launch for weaponry, for EA launch, they're looking at about $34, 5 weapons: club, longsword, spear, war axe, halberd, zweihander, single-hand stuff, dagger, short sword, mace, rapier, hatchet, saber, and then hybrid things like a gun and a hatchet combo or a saber revolver combo. Claws, kind of like Wolverine, where you'd have like a single-handed claw, or like Vega, if you want to think about it that way, from Street Fighter. For long guns, they have rifle, Louisville rifle, Vepers. They have a bunch of different like long guns with optics, some with, some without, some with scopes, some without, and other possible variants for them as well. Then they're looking at handguns, like pistol variants, tons of different pistol variants, as well as grenades and traps with many varieties to those that are made up of like poison, flash, frag, fire, and possibly even smoke. They're going to be adding shields of various sizes, from like a buckler all the way up to a pavis. We'll be adding launchers, so like a crossbow that fires glass grenades, which is another grenade type that causes bleeding by firing out a ton of glass shards. And the bleed mechanic in this works kind of like how Blood Hunter works in Dota, where when you move, it causes like considerably more damage as you move around. They're going to be adding an item with a small inventory that allows people to send up like a balloon, like 10 slots of inventory, let's say, and you put items inside of it, and then you hit go and it takes off like this small little hot air balloon to travel back to your stash and like drop off items. I suggested maybe even being able to shoot that out of the sky to cause another PvP interaction POI that just kind of like happens organically on the map. Would be kind of cool, right? Ultimately, in the long run, they are looking to add a whole lot more mob types. They are looking to add a whole bunch more maps, and a lot of TLC, from what I can tell, is going into what's being created here. Seriously, after the conversation that I had with these guys, and these guys are the Hell Let Loose devs, right? Like after Team 17 and them had their contract run up, when Team 17 bought Hell Let Loose from them, they left and started their own studio over on the side called Good Fun Games. Really, really cool project. By the way, I was not paid to talk to these guys whatsoever. It was really just like a, hey, I'd really like to interview you about this. Could you let me know what you think? And they let me do that and like actually see a lot of the stuff that was going on. So unfortunately, I can't show you hardly any of that footage that I had up on the last video, because they're just trying to do a more controlled release. They want to make sure that everything looks polished, and I can't blame them. You know, I understand that. You want to make sure that things are rolled out the way that you want them rolled out. I mean, they own it after all. Why not? Now, I will say that that video that I put up seemed like it was generating an awful lot of hype. So at the very least, there's absolutely an interest for this. And if I may, if it's one thing that Arc Raiders showed us, is that there's an awful lot of interest in extraction games still, and there is room for a good IP if it's made really, really well. And not for nothing, it also sounds like from comments that I saw in the video that I privated, there's an awful lot of Hunt Showdown gamers that are trying to look for something fresh. So hopefully this will provide that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to me yap. Hopefully we were able to cut this down so it wasn't too boring. But for those of you that are interested, please consider subbing the channel. I'm going to be doing more of this, a lot more of this. I'm going to be making a second channel too, but I'm not going to tell you when or where that's going to end up. I'm going to try and play a little algorithm thing for people that are more interested in like the IRL news side. Okay? Thank you for all of the love over the years. You guys are amazing. I really do appreciate you coming by and checking this out. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs. Come see me on Twitch sometime. I would really love that too. Otherwise, if you don't, maybe I will see you in the next video that I post. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Peace.